I recently got rid of my Cooper Fermenter plug-in hybrid. It was my daily car and I planned to keep it for a lot longer than I did, but it threw up a fault and it just questioned the reliability of the car going forward. So I got rid of it and it's left me now on a search for a new daily car. I've got a budget of about £16,000, which, looking around, is quite a healthy budget. Figures what I put in this video are not included any sort of finance deals or any sort of PCP. So let's dive in straight to what I think is a good baseline for a car. This was highly recommended on the last video. I lost count on the amount of people who said, get this, get this, get this, try this, try this, try this, try this. And I have tried one before in Italy a few years ago, and on the motorway, I didn't particularly like it, but hopefully the new update may change that. Test drive coming up soon, so test drive of the older one, test drive of the new one, I'll compare, and if I can live with it daily, and the sums work, I'm all game for it. So let's dive into it. This car is a Toyota Corolla hybrid. It's the 1.8 litre engine, and the budget of £16,000 is for the 2022 only. Now, this is a bit of an issue because in 2023, Toyota did quite a significant facelift on the car. The battery size was upgraded by 14%. The weight reduction was 14% as well. So not only is it a bigger battery, it also weighs less. It was upgraded from 121 horsepower to 140 horsepower, and it had better soundproofing. But they're coming in at about £18,000 as a minimum for a higher mileage one, up to about 20 to 21. So they're really keeping their value up. Now, to tell the 2022 and 2023 Corolla apart, it's quite easy really. The interior has been totally refreshed as well. There's a larger infotainment screen on the 2023. There's also a full digital dash now on the 2023. It just looks a little bit nicer and more modern. It's more what I would look for in a car. The 2022 still is a good car, but the one what I would want is the 2023, not the 22. So I may hold off or I may just leave it. We'll see. Unfortunately, the budget is a 2022, so that's what's going to be in this video, and that's what's on the screen right now. So, buying the car for £16,000, I would have to service this car twice a year. I'm going to be doing about 18,000 miles, and this is the baseline for all the cars what I'm about to give. 18,000 miles a year is a minimum for me, up to about 22 to 23,000, sometimes 25, but that's more of an exceptional year. I would have to service this car twice a year, which is a bit of an inconvenience if I'm being totally honest, because I have to go into the dealership, I then have to get a bus into town, I have to get a bus back to the dealership. And yeah, it's just a little bit out of the way. It doesn't sound inconvenient until it actually happens on the day, because there's an important meeting or something, or there's an important event or something that day, or there's something on, or you've had a bad week and you got to take this car in and you're like, oh, I just can't be bothered. But anyway, beside the point. But to maintain the warranty on this car, it's got a really, really good warranty, the Toyota. Looking into it, 10-year warranty. The reliability of the Toyotas, Uber use them all the time, taxis use them all the time. There's Corollas in America and things where I've got 400,000 miles on the clock. Just a really good, dependable car, and you can see why it is the best-selling car in the world. So, twice a year servicing on this car. I've estimated around about £600 a year for this, so roughly about £300 per service. It may not be that, there may be an interim, there may be a major, but on average it may equal out at about £600. Tyres throughout the 5 years on the car, about 1840-ish, something like that. These figures are rounded up a little bit and you can play with them soon here and there, but for me, 3 sets of tyres would be about £1,800. I only put premium tyres on a car. It is literally the only thing between you and the road. I don't want crap tyres on a car. Tax, $975 for the 5 years. Fuel, now this is an interesting one because looking into it, people may say, oh, but my Corolla gets 70 mpg or my Corolla gets 40 mpg, but this is an overall average of 90,000 miles. You can't say your Corolla gets 70 mpg for 90k. It's unrealistic. So I've gone for, looking at real world reports, looking at reviews online, I've gone for a generous but conservative 58 mpg at 132.9 litre. This would work out at £9,375 for the 5 years of fuel, which is actually pretty good, really, for 5 years of fuel. Now, this is where the Toyota's trump card comes into play, and that is the residual value of them. Looking at the 2023 compared to the 2022, the residuals are so much higher than any other car. So, around about 100 and something thousand miles on the clock, estimated about £7,500 in 5 years' time for it, which is really good. That brings the total, including the purchase of the car, to £23,690. That's our baseline we're working with. On to the next car. Now, thanks to the wonders of depreciation, the Tesla Model 3 is now in budget of £16,000. This was a £40,000 car when it was new in 2021 to 2022. So it's lost a significant amount of value in them few years. The thing with Tesla is, I've never known a brand so polarizing as Tesla. They just put so much emotion and bring up so much emotion in everyone. It's just crazy. It's just a car. It's a car and it's cheap to run. Who cares? It's almost comparable to buying a bit of technology or even a phone. There's just so many like incremental gains in like such a small amount of time, and then those incremental changes and just improvements as the sort of shifted manufacturing to China and then shifted manufacturers to Berlin, and obviously Fremont as well, where they make them as well. But there's maybe a few inconsistencies between three plants, is what I'm saying. The 2019 to 2020 has chrome handles and a chrome surround on the pillars. This is a pre-facelift. This is like almost like a launch model of the Model 3. It doesn't have a heat pump either. The 2021 then got a facelift, which matted out the handles, it matted out the surround, so it got rid of the chrome. It was a chrome delete basically. It then got a heat pump, 55 kilowatt hour battery, 52.5 kilowatt hour usable battery, giving a range of something like 190 to 230 miles of real range, something like that. Various different things depending on your driving, depending on the temperature, depending on where you are, depending on how fast you go, etc., as is everything with electric cars. Now, that's the 2021. From 2022 to 2023, it gained a heated steering wheel. It replaced the Intel Atom processor with an AMD Ryzen one. It changed its battery from a 62 kilowatt hour to a 57.5 kilowatt hour usable battery. So all these little incremental changes, it's a bit of a minefield for a used car. And I would always recommend, if you go and see a Tesla Model 3, click on software, click on additional vehicle information. It brings up what battery it has, if it's an LPF or an NMC. It brings out what processor it's got as well, and also look at the actual serial number to see where it's made. You can then, I'll put up the serial numbers of the Fremont, the Shanghai, and the Germany one, so you can sort of judge how good the craftsmanship is on the car, where it's made. Apparently the Shanghai ones are very good anyway. Anyway, now that that's all out of the way with, looking at a 2021 car, the smaller battery version, the budget doesn't stretch to the actual the 62 kilowatt hour. When it stopped becoming the standard range plus and it became only rear wheel drive. That's the model number. So the Model 3 is quite an efficient EV, but overall average of everything, it's quite cold up in Scotland. It can get to like -10, -15 quite regularly in the winter. And then it can get to like, the variation in temperature is different compared to Southern England, for example. So I've got experience of EVs before. I owned a Nissan Leaf for a few years, so I know what they can do in terms of like range and things. And obviously looking online and researching, I think 3.7 miles per kilowatt hour is a fair number for the whole ownership. This isn't just 1 or 2 trips. This is for 90,000 miles. So luckily I have a smart meter and I also have a home charger already fitted from 2018. A little bit of a blast from the past, ChargeMaster, before it became BP ChargeMaster, before it became BP Pulse. So that just proves my experience with EVs. I'm not just some person who's just thought about researching into EV. I've lived with an EV from a very early adopter stage. From 2017, 2018, I've had an EV. I sold it in 2021 because the price was too good not to sell it. So being a higher end car, the tyres are more expensive. So 3 sets of tyres, looking at £2,700, tax is the same, £975. Potential repairs, I've included this because there is no sort of servicing for the Tesla. Now, the good thing about the Tesla is that they've put everything online, the whole service manual, the whole shebang. It's like a Haynes manual online. So I'd be confident about doing most jobs on this car. You know, it's got all sequenced how to do it. It's got all the torque figures, everything like that. It's literally the entire car. You can take the entire thing to pieces by using this manual. Really good they've put that out for free. So I'll put £2,000 because the warranty is only to 100k on these standard range pluses. It's 120k on the NMC long range, 8 years. So the resale value is very difficult to say with these EVs because battery tech changes so often. There's also a little bit of a glut of EVs at the minute. And there's also changes, like I said, about the technology. It could be solid state, it could be longer range, less density. There's just so many factors affecting these residual values in 5 years' time. So 130k miles, roughly about £6,000, which would give it a total cost of ownership of £17,864, which is really good. But there's a caveat to that. And I would only recommend even looking at an EV if you can A, charge at home, B, have a smart meter. If you don't have either one of them things or both of them things, don't look at an EV. It's as simple as that. I just can't fathom relying on solely public chargers or even Tesla superchargers because they're not a lot of money, but they're a lot more than you'd pay at home. This is 9p per kilowatt hour for 4 hours overnight. That is incredibly cheap to run a car. I would never charge the car outside of that. Absolutely no way, unless you were doing a long road trip, which is very rarely for me anyway, maybe once a year, maybe twice a year. It doesn't play a factor in me buying the car. I can just take the pickup truck if I really needed to. The diesel pickup truck. Okay, it's not great in economy. Another EV, Hyundai Kona, 64 kilowatt hour, real world range, 250 miles. Quite a good price, £15,507. Again, 3.7 miles per kilowatt hour. I know they can do more, but an overall average over 90k, realistic. Same cost of electricity, 9p per kilowatt hour, £2,189. Servicing, I would have to get this car serviced at Hyundai, and the 40k mile service is quite expensive. It changes the coolant, basically the battery. A relatively cheaper the rest of the servicing, but service overall, rough estimate overall of £3,000. Tyres, similar to the Corolla as well, smaller wheels, £1,840. Tax, same, £975. Repairs, again, I put £2,000 in just for a buffer, just in case. Resale value, after 5 years, 120k miles. £4,000 I've done a bit of research into some of these resale values. They're not just something I plucked out of the air. I have done a bit of research into it, but you just don't know. There's a little bit of unknown with the resale value of the EVs with higher mileage. So that brings the total cost of ownership to £21,511. Now this is interesting. I'm going to put a wild card in now, and I know a lot of people are going to disagree with it, but I'm going to put it in anyway because I think it's too good to ignore. The price of these cars has depreciated like an absolute stone. Not a stone, a humongous boulder being thrown off a cliff. That's how much these cars depreciated. So, Nissan Leaf, 40 kilowatt hour, 2020, just over £7,000. Now, to give that some context, I sold my Nissan Leaf in the height of value of EVs. So it's a 2018, I sold it in 2021. That would give it 3 years old. It'll be a little bit younger than what this EV is, the 2020 version, but it's still significantly different. So I sold my Leaf 2.0, which, by the way, was quite high mileage. I think it was about 35,000 miles when I sold it a few years old. And it's still running. I checked its MOT history and it's still running at 110,000 miles. What a legend. I would love to see that car again, but that's another thing. But I sold that car for £19,500. That's insane. And it's only worth absolute pittance at the minute. The problem with this is the Leaf is an air-cooled battery. It's not got the sort of thermal management. It can't do
consecutive rapid chargers, which is one of the main reasons why I sold it, because I took it on a 1,000-mile road trip in 2018, by the way. There wasn't a lot of charging infrastructure back then. After the third rapid charge, it was taking on like 15 kilowatts, which is unbelievably slow. That's like type 2 slow. So this car is a little bit higher mileage than the rest of the stuff. Obviously a little bit older as well, but 2020. But this is a wild card on the EV side. So again, 3.7 miles per kilowatt hour, same fuel cost as before, £2,189 at 9p per kilowatt hour for the entire 90,000 miles. This isn't just for 1 year. This is the entire 90,000 miles. This is how cheap EVs are to run. Tyres, £1,800. Tax, same, 975. Now the resale, this is interesting because in 5 years' time, it'll be way over 100k if it lasts that long. I've put zero. It's not worth anything, it's worth scrap. But conservatively, you could put £2,000. Well, like I said, it's a wild card. So certainly want to consider if you only do short journeys, 70 miles or less. You know, it's got a real road range of 120 miles, but you don't want to be pushing 110 miles in it. You may get a little bit of range anxiety when it's colder weather and things like that. So a safe mileage of 100 miles in the winter, 120 in the summer. If my personal driving is 70 miles a day, every day, so the Leaf would actually be really good for that. It's ridiculously bad on road trips. Do not have this car as your main primary car, but as a second or third car, this car is a really good buy. Back to Volkswagen Audi now. And, you know, I said before my last video, I would still consider a VAG car. I still like the look of them. I still think they're a good interior as well. Relatively reliable. Take that with a pinch of salt, but they are relatively reliable. So for £16,000, there's a few cars that I'm going to put up on the screen now. We've got the Skoda, we've got the Audi A3, we've got the Seat Leon. All nice looking cars and all like well built, I feel anyway. So this would be any internal combustion engine car I would get would be totally self-serviced. I would not put it into a dealership because it wouldn't be covered under warranty anyway, so it doesn't really matter. You may get a year's warranty if you buy approved used, but I don't really care. I would buy it from anywhere as long as I had a good service history, one previous owner from new, low mileage. That's what I would look out for. Like I said, I would service it myself. So a service kit online is about £100. That includes oil and filters. So I'd have to do this twice a year because don't forget, it's 18,000 miles to 20,000 miles a year I do. Every 10,000 miles a year, you need to service the car. So I reckon I could do this in less than half an hour. Jack up the car, drain the oil, take the filter off, replace the oil, plugs, air filter, bonnet down, job done. Half an hour max for that car to service it. So £1,000 overall for the cost of ownership of that servicing. Tyres, again, similar to the Leaf and things like that. Not really a premium alloy, so like an 18-inch is more like a 17-inch on these sort of cars. The Audi does have a slightly bigger wheel, so maybe you could take into account that as well. But let's just call it an overall average of £1,800. Brakes, it is an internal combustion engine, so you may have noticed the EVs and the hybrid as well. I haven't included any brakes in that because they don't tend to use any brakes. You just tend to use the regenerative braking. But in an ICE car, you definitely do need the brakes all the time, and they do wear roughly every 30,000 to 50,000 miles, something like that. So a budget of £350, I would change the brakes myself, no bother. Fuel, 50 mpg. I think that's been quite generous for a 1 litre or 1.5 at 132.9, which would give it £10,875. I've rounded up a little bit as well. Resale, now the Skoda and the VAG cars, the resale can be between £4,000 and £5,000. So I'm going to go for the £4,000, the lesser one, because I did have a Skoda Rapid before my Nissan Leaf, which I sold to get my Leaf. I had that from relatively new, sold it for about £4,500, bought it for about £15,000. So similar to this scenario. So between £4,000 and £5,000, the VAG cars, over 100,000 miles. Potential repairs, £2,000 I've added as well, a conservative estimate. So this would take the total cost of ownership to £28,085, which is a lot more than the EV and a lot more than also the Corolla, interesting enough, even if I've serviced it myself. Imagine if you had to service this car at a dealership. That would definitely cost a lot more to own than the Corolla, and you can see why people do buy the Corolla who can't charge an EV at home. More of a premium brand now. obviously sort of similar to an Audi as well, but a standalone premium brand as a BMW. The one in budget is a 2020 118i, £15,300. Servicing, again, I would just do it. The servicing at BMW is crazy expensive for what you get. It's such an easy car to service. You know, it's a 1.5 three-banger engine. It's a really easy engine to work on. So slightly more expensive than the VAG cars for £200 per service rather than £100 a service, because the filters are more expensive. The oil's the same, but the filters are more expensive. So self-service, this car is £2,000. Tyres, same, £1,800. Brakes, same, £350. Now the fuel, interesting on this 118, only a 1.5 litre three-banger engine, and I tell you what, it's not very good on fuel. Surprisingly, I thought you'd be getting 45, 50 mpg out of this, but all the real-world tests what I've been looking at, and I don't know if it's BMW owners have a really, really heavy right foot. Other car reviewers have said similar. They're quite disappointed on the fuel economy of this engine. So I put almost an optimistic figure of 38 mpg because I've been reading 30 mpg-ish, which is really, really not good. You may as well just get a 6-cylinder petrol for the same mpg. So this over 5 years at 132.9 a litre, £14,309. Potential repairs again, £2,000. Could be more, could be less, but that's just a conservative estimate. Resale value, interestingly enough, £5,500. Stronger resale value, even if it is over 100k, but because of the premium badge, but not as strong as the Toyota. Interesting again. Total cost of ownership, £30,319. That's a lot of money. So I'm going to throw another wildcard in because no one's actually still watching this video, and it's a little bit fun for me as well, just to have a look at. So if you are still watching this video, drop in the comments below and put a race car emoji for Ferrari, obviously. But this is a car what I've always looked at and thought, oh, I'd love to own one of them one day. It's an absolute missile, and it's a really good engine as well. BMW 335D or 435D, whichever variation it is. The problem with this is, if I was only doing between 5 and 10,000 miles a year, I would probably just own it. But it's just such a shame to bang on 18,000 to 25,000 miles a year on this car. You know, it's quite an old car anyway. It's going to have a high mileage. The one that I found is actually a really nice one for just over £16,000, 42,000 miles on it. Great engine. It's going to have about 130,000 to 140,000 miles by the time I'm finished with it. The valuation is just going to go like an absolute stone again. So between £3,000 and £3,500 residual after 5 years and 130,000, 140,000 miles. It may be more, but I doubt it. Fuel, probably similar to what the actual BMW 118 gets as well. Diesel in the UK is roughly about, well, where I live anyway, it's about 5 to 10p a litre more expensive. So it can be quite a bit more expensive diesel to actually run, which is why I've not included any in this comparison. Now, there's one cost what I haven't given on all these cars, and that is insurance, because insurance is incredibly variable in the whole of the UK. I'm old. I've got 20 years no claims. So the insurance for me is cheap no matter what I drive. If I drive the 335 or I drive a Model 3 or a Model 3 Performance or a Skoda Kamiq, they're all roughly the same price. There's not much variation in any of the insurance for me personally. That's my shortlist of all these cars, what I've been looking at. I've got some test drives coming up as well, and I do plan to buy in the next sort of like 3 to 4 weeks. So stay tuned to see what I actually buy. It could be anything. Who knows? But it has to be the right deal, the right time. There's not one car what I'm particularly leaning to at the minute. It's just a case of, if I see something, what's a good deal, or the right year, the right mileage, the right ownership, then I will zero in on that. Obviously, the smart money would be on the Tesla, but it's not very practical for me. With dogs as well, you would then get the Model Y, which is more expensive. It's 21 to 23,000. The ones that I've been looking at, it's just out of budget. I just refuse to take finance on a car like that. No way. So the Model 3, I would maybe get like a dog hammock or something for it, something like that. But hope you like this video. Drop in the comments below which one you would buy, or another one. Just drop in the comments below. Hit the like button if you have liked this video. It helps to reach other people who may also find this video useful. All the information was correct in July of 2025 in the UK. And I'll see you next time.